My name Giant. I am Shaman. Today I invoke ritual of spirits unto you future people, so that future may have better hunt. What? You not know what I'm doing? Future people. Yes, welcome future people to Neolithic. My name Giant, and I am a man in a cave with my tribe. Now you may think that I look crazy and strange to you, but to me and my people, this is a very normal part of life. For I will take you all the way back to the year 8000 BC, the time called the Neolithic, a time called the Ice Age. You will see what it was like to live 10,000 years ago from your time. You will see what it was like for me, a man living in Ice Age Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, welcome to the show, to Stone to Steam Season 2, where I will take you through all of human history from beginning up until present times. And last week we followed Gentle, a man living in Africa as he migrated out of his beloved home into the new territory that would become called the Middle East in the future. We witnessed life in 70,000 BC during a time called the Paleolithic, which means old stone. But now we find ourselves today in the Neolithic, meaning new stone. This was a whole different age where stone tools were much more, let's say innovative. Humans were much more advanced technologically speaking. They even stitched their clothes in this era, as we can see over here. However, times were very tough. Even just as they were in the Paleolithic, so were they tough in the Neolithic. We witness a time called the Ice Age. The Ice Age has been happening for many millions of years. We are currently, technically speaking, already in an Ice Age. But the Ice Age is slowly ending, but come this time, 8000 BC, and things were much colder. Do you know what is so interesting? Today the show is set in, take a guess, Italy. Italy. What comes to mind when you think about the climate of Italy? Sunny weather, beautiful Mediterranean climate? No, back in 8000 BC it was very frigid in Italy, especially during winter. So today we're going to witness what it was like to be in the Neolithic times in 8000 BC, and I will take you on a journey for what it was like to be a man, well, just an ordinary man, maybe not so ordinary, but you know, a shaman from that time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much and welcome to the show. So yes, I am a man who's seen many winters. Of course I don't speak your strange future language, but luckily I learnt a bit of it just for the sake of the show, but in reality I would be speaking Proto-Indo-European, which is a language they theorize came even before Latin. So, no one knows what Proto-Indo-European sounded like, but we can guess. So, for the sake of the show, I will speak in English just for you, alright, future people? Now I learn your language, now you learn my time, alright? Good. I've seen many winters here in the plains, in the mountains. I live with my family, my tribe. You see, I am no ordinary member in the tribe, for I am a shaman. Shamanism is very important to us in the Neolithic. Many theorize that these were the earliest religions in human history, shamanism. We don't know exactly what they would have done in shamanism, who they would have worshipped, but many theorize that we worship the spirits of nature, that we would invoke the spirits by doing rituals to help us in the hunt. Yes, it might sound quite funny, but let me show you how it is very fascinating. And we would do many rituals around the fire to try and evoke better hunt for our members and better foraging. Maybe even healing as well, different rituals for different purposes. I am also called a medicine man, for my role in the tribe is I make the medicine to heal the members. It's easy to think about the Stone Age as being a time when brutish people named Ugg and Grunt ran around with clubs in their hands, clubbing animals and mammoths. But no, society much more intricate. We build houses, we build structures in Neolithic time. Sadly, they not survive because we mostly build out of wood. But we also live in caves where we leave our mark. And one thing, like I say, that is so important, just as important as hunting, as sleeping, as bonding with the family, is shamanism, our view on the world. Remember, we're not like you future people where we build big strange stone structures that fly up into stars. We not have that. We not know what stars are. So we rely on what we see with our eyes, and we make formulation based on what we see. Often it's incorrect, but we do our best. You can't blame us. So, future people, would you like to see average day in the average life of a shaman? Yeah. Yes? Would you like to see what it's like? Ah, good. I thought you would say, yes. Where's my cough medicine? Anyone care for some Neolithic cough herbs? You might say poison, but sometimes when my friend annoys me, I give him poison. Great advantage of being shaman, yes? Okay, now time for story.
It is dawn over Ice Age Europe. The birds are nestled in their homes. The fog about to lift over a great morning's activities for our ancestors, Homo sapiens. Join me today as we witness the life and daily routines of a human Stone Age man from the Neolithic. We find ourselves in Italy, what is today the Italian peninsula. But back then, this was the northernmost accessible part of Europe. For places like Britain, Scandinavia, northern Germany and France, covered in glacial ice sheets. It is a cold world. And so the day starts with our caveman waking up. We call them cavemen because they tended to live in caves, for a cave provided great shelter against the elements and the cold, cold world that they lived in. In today's show, we follow Giant. We've given him this name for we do not know what language they spoke back then, but we all know that it must have been some early form of Proto-Indo-European. The language that would eventually turn into Latin, which would branch out into many languages we know today, including English. We've given this name to him for he is on average taller than most of the others in his tribe. We see Giant waking up and feeling hungry for the day is about to begin. He reaches out for some dried berries and nuts and dried fish to eat for breakfast. While the males get ready for hunting, him, the elderly and the females remain in the cave. You see, Giant is a shaman. Shamans hold high regard inside the tribe. A shaman is quite high up on the hierarchy, so he eats first. As well as the chief and the shaman eat their breakfast first. Oh, but what is this? It looks like a child is reaching out for some berries. Giant scolds the child to put him back in his place, for humans are very hierarchical just as their ancestors are. And so, as the hunters head out for their day of the hunt, the activities begin for Giant. Some activities on his list involve predicting the hunt and evoking spirits in a ritual. And so he begins. He takes his bones, reads them on his small leather mat, and eventually begins to evoke the spirits in a ritual, as we shall now witness. As we can see, he's equipped with a flute. Flutes are very important instruments in history of humanity. As we can hear, they invoke great sounds. We theorize that flutes have been used for thousands and thousands of years into history, even in the Paleolithic. Come now the Neolithic, and flutes have become quite the sophisticated instrument. And as Giant finishes his rituals to send off the hunters, he is now left alone in the cave with some of the elderly and the children and some of the females. The tribe consists of roughly 30 members on average. Giant remains to use up his time painting on the cave walls. Today we theorize that there were many reasons that our ancestors painted on cave walls. They did it for religious reasons, most probably to evoke the spirits, to guide the hunt, for we find many depictions of the animals that our ancestors hunted. By painting the animal, it invokes the spirit of the animal, making for better hunt. We theorize also that they used to paint on cave walls for practical reasons. Perhaps to keep track of hunts and some sort of way of tallying the numbers of animals hunted on specific days. We find many depictions of human hands on cave walls. Perhaps the fingers represent days, or keeping track of numbers, or simply just the fact that humans are very artistic creatures, and perhaps they just simply enjoy some home decor. Next up on the itinerary for Giant is an afternoon nap. For it is very cold in the Ice Age, he wraps himself up in reindeer fur for a small little nap to catch up on rest that has been lost in the unpredictable lifestyle of Homo sapiens during the Neolithic. As Giant sleeps, he hears in the distance a mammoth. The bygone sounds of an extinct creature echo through the cave walls, haunting Giant and the members of his tribe. For their beautiful call perhaps invokes feelings and emotions that have since been lost to time. Giant proceeds with a prayer, praying for the success of the hunt while the other men are on their journey. Perhaps humans have not been praying for as short a time as we think, and perhaps prayer goes far, far back. Who knows what form prayer would have taken back then, but all we can know is that humans most likely did pray to some sort of force or spirit. Now that Giant is awake, he has little to do but wait. He waits and waits and waits and waits. In the Neolithic, there's not much room for boredom, for life is always busy and unpredictable, with things always needing to be done, such as preparing stone tools, making a fire, or going on the hunt. But boredom, just as today it haunts many members of humanity, so would it have haunted our ancestors in the Neolithic. Perhaps giants, to alleviate his boredom, would have engaged in conversation with the elderly. Speech was very important back then, as it is now. Speech started to gradually replace grooming even, just as our Australopithecus ancestors would have groomed each other as a way of social bonding and creating great relationships with others in the tribe. Speech slowly started to replace grooming. Perhaps giants would have cared for a sick member. For being a shaman, he probably would have played role of doctor as well in the tribe. He prepares his herbs, even honey, for our ancestors knew of the healing properties of honey, for this member was scratched during a hunt by a rock that was dirtied with mold. And to top it all off, giants would have probably performed another ritual of healing, a different type of ritual suited to a different type of need. But what's this? The hunters are running late, it is already sunset. It is not a shaman's task to make a fire, for this is reserved for the lower ranks of society. But since he is only surrounded by the elderly and the children, Giant has no option but to make the fire himself. Flexibility is probably one trait of humanity that has been with us since the beginning, ensuring our survival. This ability to adapt other roles within the tribe is probably something that ensured humanity's survival during the Neolithic. Oh, but what's this? Giant is teaching one of the children how to make a fire. He is showing this young'un how to prepare the fire, for he does not know how to make a fire. And as we can see, it is through this practice that humanity has become a great species. Just as a fly continues to fly into a window not knowing what the window is, humans are here with our ability to pass down knowledge to avoid the mistakes done by those come before. A fly will continue to fly into a window because it has not the ability to pass on knowledge to the next generation. And at last we can hear the hunters return. Hunts have become more successful as humans continue to innovate throughout the ages. And so this hunt was a great success, bringing home meat from the mighty mammoth. If the hunters were not successful in this hunt, the tribe would have gone hungry for yet another day, which would have been survivable, but as the days compound, so does the strength diminish of the tribe. With each day passing, so does the likelihood of a successful hunt grow ever more small and dim. But luckily for the hunters and the tribe, this hunt was successful. And perhaps it was, all thanks to the shaman. Maybe it was thanks to the hunters. Maybe it was thanks to the elders and their knowledge passed on. But what we do know is that the collective effort of the whole tribe as one unit ensures the survival of the human race. Join us next time as we witness more history in the next historical era. But one thing that we know that will happen to humanity during the Neolithic, something that will change it forever. An event, an invention, unlike no other seen before in human history, the advent of farming.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our small little story. Thank you so much for watching. Yes, as we witnessed, we saw giants and his daily routines from dawn till dusk. How he woke up and how, yes, there was a strict hierarchy in society where the children were not allowed to eat first, but rather the elders and the chief and the shaman. You see, our old ancestors, Australopithecus, ate in the same way. And so do humans, even till today, have strict hierarchies in many societies. So it's just simply a relic of our ancestry. And as we witnessed further on, how he would do rituals for different tasks that demanded different needs. He even healed a sick member who had scraped himself. Yes, indeed, shamans were very valuable members of society, performing healing and even rituals to help boost morale and communicate with the spirits. Last but not least, we witnessed something foreign being brought into the cave of their home. And that thing was the advent of farming. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Neolithic saw rise to something unprecedented in human history. And that is the advent of farming. Farming would revolutionize the way that humanity would conduct itself and lead and give rise to something called civilization. But stay tuned for next week to find out more about that. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So folks, yes, giant, you see how I live. Isn't it interesting life? Yes, I eat, I sleep, I say hello to family, wish them luck, scold the children, all these activities, yes? So, I've brought a few surprises for you guys. Would you guys like to see some of the surprises I've brought? Yes. Alright. In my bag, I have a few little surprises from the Neolithic to share with you guys, alright? So, item number 1. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a stone tool, an original stone tool from the Stone Age. It is highly valuable, so I'm not going to pass it around, but I'm going to let you touch it. And folks, when you touch it, just feel the texture, feel the fact that these are our distant ancestors who once created this tool to fulfill their daily tasks, like we saw Giant do. Feel it and know and just imagine the generations that have touched this so long ago. Here we go. Have a feel, have a feel, have a feel. Yes, here we go, here we go. Have a feel, have a feel. Amazing, eh? So there's a bit of mystery surrounding the stone tool, but from the lecturer from a university I obtained it from, she said that it goes back to the Stone Age in South Africa. So remember, when I say the word Stone Age or Bronze Age or Neolithic or Mesolithic or Paleolithic, there is a huge difference based on geography. Because remember, not all over the world there's suddenly, the invention of copper, now everywhere in the world everyone's using copper at the exact same time. No, ages would have latency and they would linger on and only reach certain parts of the world at certain other times. So we find in Southern Africa the Stone Age ended rather late. So this stone probably goes back to the time when Romans ruled Europe. Yeah, have a feel, have a feel. Oh, the stone, yes. There we go. Got it, got it. I see you want to touch caveman. Yeah, feel amazing. To feel something that is so old. Have a feel, have a feel. Yes, the stone tool, ladies and gentlemen. Amazing. And do you guys want to have a feel as well? I'll let you touch at the end if you really want to. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I also have over here another stone tool. This one is a bit different though. This one is smaller, and they theorize that these were used as carving tools. So you could actually use these to skin an animal to make your clothes. This is too big to be an arrowhead, maybe a spearhead, but how to tell that it's not really a spear, it's probably not a spearhead, is it doesn't have little slits in the sides to wind hide around to attach it to a stick. So this is probably a handheld tool used to scrape leather, hide, or whatever it may have been. So there we go, another Stone Age tool that probably goes back to Stone Age in South Africa as well. Now another item, shells. We know about the Neolithic based on what they left behind. And sadly, they did not write anything down. There was no such thing as writing. Maybe it could have been independently invented briefly, but then forgotten, who knows. But there's no writing that survives. So what we do find a lot left over from our ancestors in the Neolithic times are shells. They loved shells. They even found one burial site with hundreds of little shells all over someone's head. They theorized was probably a funerary rite of passage, putting a head scarf made out of shells on the deceased's head. Shells also have other purposes, and as a shaman I would be particularly interested because you can hear spirit in shell. You can hear the spirit of ancestors and their voice in shell. All you do is you hold here and you listen, and I hear ancestors speak to me. You hear ancestors. You hear voices of spirits, those gone before, people who used to be our ancestors. You hear them. Yes, you hear. So yes, it's not actually superficial, natural. It's just simply the way that air travels through the curves of the shell. But I'm sure, and we theorize that our ancestors would have thought that these could have been spirits speaking to us. Yeah. Amazing, hey? Fascinating. To hear something that our ancestors probably heard 10,000 years ago. Amazing, hey? You can hear the whoosh and the sound of spirits, yes. Now I've got another surprise for you. Let me just fix my kilt. It's fallen down. Fur, not easy to wear. Fur keep want to fall off. There we go. So speaking of sound now, sound was incredibly important to our ancestors as well. How do we know this? Because they also left behind instruments, musical instruments. Some of the most common instruments are, yes, flutes. Flutes are some of the most common instruments, but they were made mostly out of bone. Bone flutes have survived, and some of them are very common to be made out of the thigh bone of a cave bear. Cave bears are now extinct, but back in the Neolithic, they were around and very dangerous to humans. But once hunted, they make for a great flute. I have a wooden flute, which could have been used because we don't have many wooden flutes that survived because they don't last, but they probably did make wooden flutes and would have probably used them for their rituals. Would you guys like to see another instrument that I brought?
Yes.
It's in sight. I'm literally wearing it. Do you see it? My voice. My voice. They theorize that the voice is the oldest instrument in human history because we've always had voices with us as humans since the dawn of humanity. So they theorize that singing was a practice that goes back all the way to, well, since the beginning of humanity. As to exactly when, it's hard to say, but maybe Australopithecus sang in very rough, primitive ways. Just as they probably gesture to each other through grunts. But Homo erectus, Homo habilis, Homo sapiens all probably sang. Another ancient instrument is, again, just like I showed you, the stone tools, stones also make good instruments, because as long as you can knock it, rock, go knock, knock, rock, you get original rock music. Yes. Huh? Yes, so they call these lithophones. Lithophones are instruments that are played, are basically rock instruments that make these beautiful sounds. I can even play the sound effect of the lithophone for you guys. Here we go. Can you hear the lithophone being banged? There we go. And the flute you're hearing is a cave bear thigh bone flute reconstructed in modern times. Beautiful, hey? You can hear how this would obviously, again, for a shaman, be something, a way probably to tap into the spirit world. Music would have been so important. Shaman ritual. I now do shaman ritual for you future. There, ritual done. Now you are have good luck in future, huh? So yes, indeed. That is the sound of a lithophone as a few groups of people recreate Neolithic music using instruments they would have used back then. So fascinating. We can even 3D print cave bear thigh bone flutes as well. So it just shows how it may be far away, 10,000 years ago, but we can still more or less glimpse what life was like and what it sounded like. So ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, so ladies and gentlemen, who wants to take a guess as to what this thing is? Have a look, have a look. Some might say, is it like used for fishing, like you throw it in a lake and then catch fish with it? Wrong. Nope, that's not what it's used for. Some people say, oh, is it like a spearhead, like you throw it and use it to hunt? No, it's nothing to do with hunting. Well, maybe in one way, but I'll explain that now. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a bull roarer. And this is one of the oldest instruments in human history. It's a musical instrument. How it works is the player will put it on their fingers and then zip it around their head in circles, and it creates a very, very distinct sound that, well, is very mesmerizing. Would you guys like to hear a Neolithic bull roarer in action? All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it at the bottom, because I'm going to need more space. It's not the safest thing to be around very close. So let me go to the bottom. Right, you can all see?
Yeah.
Great, I'll move around for those, okay. So how it works is I'll put it secured onto my pinky so it doesn't fly away. Then, I've got a little piece of leather here to put in between my hands, because it causes friction and it can scrape your hands. I learned the hard way when I first made a bull roarer. It wasn't very pleasant. So, this goes over here. And we are ready. So what you do is you'll spin it like this. Give it spin. And then you're ready. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Fascinating. One more time, one more time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, folks, the bull roarer is a very old instrument that goes back not even to Neolithic but to Paleolithic times. And it takes breath out of you too. Whew. It takes a lot of fitness to operate the bull roarer. But they theorize reindeer fur in my mouth. They theorized that bull roarers were used in rituals. So they would use a bull roarer inside a cave, and imagine the acoustics, the sounds it would make while bull roaring inside a cave. And they obviously, this would create a very, very mesmerizing noise that they probably used, that shamans probably used back then for rituals.
Trance-like.
Very trance-like, exactly. So, one last thing. The attire. What is the attire of a Neolithic shaman? So on my body, I wear reindeer fur. Reindeer fur is popular because deer was a very common animal during Neolithic times in Europe. So I wear reindeer fur on my body. It's been stitched on my shoulders to stay in place because stitching was a new thing now. Stitching was now known. In the Neolithic, people stitched their clothes. So they weren't these primitive cavemen with clubs with fur drapes on themselves. No, they made their own clothes. But being winter, I'm wearing a raw reindeer fur. In summer, I would have worn more tailored leather clothes. And on my head, I wear a bone mask. And again, for some warmth, I wear some more fur on top of my head to keep my head warm. So we don't know exactly what a shaman would have looked like, but we can guess. And I theorize that shamans would have loved the use of bones to invoke the spirit of the animal. So they would have used a skull to perhaps create a mask of the creature that they wanted to invoke the spirit of. So here I am wearing a bone mask. And on my feet I wear leopard fur. Leopard fur, it was used because leopards were also around during that time. And this, I think, is a very fascinating symbol of how humans have moved up the top, up the food chain, and that Neolithic man was able to hunt leopards instead of being hunted by the leopard, and hence wear it. Saber-toothed cats, saber-toothed tigers. So saber-toothed tigers, it's inaccurate to call them tigers, but rather to call them saber-toothed cats. And they were mostly found in North America. So in Europe, no, there wouldn't have been saber-toothed cats in Europe. So being in Europe, as a shaman, I wouldn't have to worry about saber-toothed cats. But one thing I would have to worry about is lions. Yes, cave lions were a thing in Europe, just as dangerous as a saber-toothed cat. So yes, that was that's what they had to contend with. Anyway, folks, that has been my collection from the Neolithic, and please stay tuned for the next show. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I really hope you enjoyed, folks. I also had a lot of fun with that. I do feel like, you know, I was first thinking, what should I do? Should I be a hunter? Should I be an everyday man? Should I be a farmer? I could be a farmer, but it's a bit too early for farming in Europe. So what I decided to do was be a shaman for today's show. Yes, such an important role in society that is often forgotten and overlooked. Shamanism. Fascinating, hey? Cool, folks. Have yourselves a really good day, all right? Have yourselves a historical shamanic day.